Okay, good late morning, going into the afternoon here. My name is Deanne Battle, and I am the host of this show, which is called The Composite, just a general talk show. So today, let's hop in. I'm late again. No surprise. But it's for a good reason. So I was struggling with my Mac yet again. I think it's officially dead. I haven't been able to turn it on in a while, which is distressing because I have a short story collection and a novel draft to proceed with. And I need my machine. But I'll figure something out about that. But this morning, I remembered, oh snap, I have an iPad mini, which is useless apparently, when I tried to go trade it in or whatever. But anywho, I do have it, and it's like super old, but the internet still works. So I was like, okay, well, I can actually set up and show clips and articles today. And I'll still kind of experiment with the StreamYard, but I kind of don't get it so far. Maybe it works better on YouTube. I didn't like the video quality the last time that I used it. It was cool to be able to, manipulate the clips and articles that way, though, but we shall see. So what I'm doing right now is continuing to set up, but one thing that you notice, right, when you watch people on, Instagram and YouTube is they'll give people a few minutes to, see that they're broadcasting, and I haven't been doing that, and so I wanted to pause for a second and have an opportunity to do that. Let me see here. Where is this video? In terms of things that we'll be talking about. I don't think the show will be as long as it was yesterday, but definitely some issues that I want to cover. Definitely a shit ton of things going on. Let me do this. Go back. Now, the one thing is, because it is outdated technology, it's super slow. All right, now this, I do want to elevate this. I need equipment. I really need equipment to do the show properly. Overall, this is a week where the rhythm spoons have been going, and my synapses have been firing. I've had a lot of ideas. Some of them really awesome, some of them not. But they're coming in, these ideas, business and creative ideas, they're coming in hard and fast. So I hope that means that, I'm renewed somehow in terms of motivation, or maybe in terms of luck, so I can get my hands on some cash here to make all of these projects happen. Okay, so that is that. Here we go. All right, and I have my tea and stuff set up, right? So, I think it'll be a little lighter today in terms of topic-wise than it was yesterday. But, again, there's a lot happening astrologically, and I really think that, as the seasons change, as the alignments change, that it's having, excuse me, a little shiny here, having an effect on me. It definitely, my sleeping pattern, it's like I said, it's since, I would say, Saturday. It's been brutal, like 3.5, 4 hours, and I'm laying in bed, mind you, for hours, but I can't fall asleep. So I think about things and I come up with ideas. So the next idea, when I can't sleep tonight, that I need to come up with is how to go about getting the equipment, manifesting the equipment that I need to really get this show where it needs to be. So, c'est la vie. No rest for the wicked. And the other thing that I'm looking up, this was the second video that I wanted to prep. And then we'll be ready to go. And the impetus, I mean, these were issues I was thinking about, but the impetus for this came from social media at 4:15 a.m. And let's see how many people are online. Oh, it doesn't tell you. Oh, well, maybe nobody's on. I know like Instagram, sometimes it'll tell you like under your ticker, whatever you call it, your handle, how many people that you know are online. I wish I could get it to send another notification. Okay. No, you have to like DM people the stream. I'm not trying to spam folks. You know, I would appreciate more support for this show, but yeah, I'm not that pressed about it, you know. I think this endeavor, like anything worked on by me, I will just have to keep toiling in obscurity till I get this to do what I want. And so that's usually how it goes for me. Okay, we've been on for like 7 minutes. All right, I'll get it together in a couple. I know this is not the most entertaining to watch me get this together. But I mean, I think that these, like I said, these two videos to me spark a really good discussion. And I think what I'll do is post maybe follow-up questions in the chat if people want to continue to engage. It's so much easier finding this stuff on my phone. Oh, I see what it did. That's so freaking weird. Like, I was looking for someone's Twitter feed, and I Googled it, and it's giving me his Twitter feed from 2022? So weird. Wait, can I just refresh? What the entire hell? Oh, maybe I have to put an X instead of hell. I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of geriatric millennial jokes. I'd personally rather be a baby Gen Xer, but I think I'm pretty sure I've missed the cutoff, so I stopped trying to fake that funk a little while ago. But anywho, I've seen a lot of elderly millennial jokes or memes in the last couple of weeks, and it's just like, yeah, hey, that is where we are right now. You know, I think because I was born at that cusp of, like, I grew up learning cursive and Roman numerals and phonics. Haha, that's an interesting discussion, especially as a teacher. I could talk about that for hours. I digress. And yeah, I shouldn't have did that. I just played myself because now I forgot what I was saying. Da, 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 da. Okay. I actually had to look up this dude's Twitter handle. I feel like Google doesn't really work as well as it used to. I know that's a random thing to say, but it's just like, again, it's a shorthand. All right, this is what I was talking about. Again, being an elderly millennial. There we go. Oh, don't need the Prevagen today. Yes. Oh, Jesus, take the wheel. All right, so, right, I grew up with card catalogs, no cell phones and everything. And then once I was a teenager, we had the AOL chat rooms and dial up and stuff. So I've seen the whole progression, but it's always funny, these moments that I have where it's like I'm not as bad off as like people who are older, right? And I'm just saying it that way, not to be disparaging, but because, they just haven't had as much exposure or experience with certain technologies, not all of technology. But, I think because it's like if you spent most of your life without it, it's a little harder to adapt. But what I'm noticing about myself is that it's harder to adapt, but I'm able to like in the moment articulate like, oh, that was the experience that I had as a kid, and then like, okay, I see how this is evolving, and then how I can get to that point. I feel like millennials, we need to, if there's something in a technological sense that we don't understand, we'll get it eventually, but like we need to like talk through it and understand how it fits in the current universe of stuff. But like I said, I've been noticing that Google is just really quite not that great here with the. Okay, yes, here it is. With the search results, and so I'm finding on Google that I have to be a lot more specific than I used to, and so to be fair, part of it is laziness. It's just like, oh, I'm talking about Newman's Argyle sweater. I don't know why I said that, but if it's a company, Newman's, right? Not Paul Newman, but just like a random name. And they sold sweaters, and it used to seem like, oh, I see you put in Newman sweaters and Newman sweaters comes back. Now you put in Newman sweaters and a softball team wearing Newman sweaters comes up. Tweets about Newman sweaters come up. YouTube videos. You have to like keep scrolling to get to the official shit. So I don't know what's going on with Google, but I don't like it. I was just because like when I'm looking for something, again, this is the part that's, an older person, right? Like I'm susceptible to going down rabbit holes. So I have to be intentional about I'm going to get this thing and come back. And so Google has been super frustrating with okay, I want the Newman's sweaters and y'all are making me scroll here. And I have to do more work to evaluate sources and evaluate, the legitimacy of links, evaluating if things are scams and stuff. Like, yeah, it's just very wild right now with the internet. Okay. All right. So I'll get started with the stuff that I wanted to show you. The first thing here is a video that, again, I saw at like 4:15 or something in the morning of someone who alleges that she has allegations about Sean Combs, and she's discussing why she never, pursued anything legally. And since I talked about it so much on episode 6, because this is episode 7 of season 3, I talked about it so much on episode 6. I really wanted to show this video and hopefully, I mean, I can say fair use, but you can find it yourself on Twitter. But she really made me think differently. And, one thing I'm not going to do for as long as I continue to do this show is like double down on a perspective when I know, oh, you have like new information now. And so I thought it was important new information. And based on comments that I made yesterday, I wanted to bring this to the fore. So take a sip of tea. Okay, so warning, this is going to be very janky because my iPad is propped up on like a laptop stand. But I think we can get this to do what it needs to do. All right. Thank you. All right. Yeah, that's halfway decent. Let's go with that. Okay. All right. So this is Tanika Ray. So hopefully you can hear it. Let me make sure the volume is where it needs to be.
Oh, yeah. We all have stories. Seriously, we all have stories. Mine is horrific, and only 5 people know it. And I probably will never tell it. But since then, I've been like, yep. And I also am very intimately aware that you tell your truth and you become victimized over and over and over and over and over and over. And mind you, I then interviewed him many times. I have a lot of stories, y'all. I've been in Hollywood for 25 years, maybe longer, 30. I got a lot of stories. Unfortunately, maybe I'll write a book one day. But it just is so traumatizing that women just want to live every day and feel safe. And when we revisit, we live in a state of victimhood. And nobody wants to live there. So for those of you like, why didn't you say something then? Because we just want to live. We want to be happy. And we really want to forget the trauma. So there's that. Oh, yeah. We all have stories.
Okay.
Seriously, we all have stories.
So I thought that was succinct, if I can speak today, succinct and to the point, and just wanted to acknowledge what she's offering here. Because, what I was saying yesterday is like less from the point of view or a narrative of the individual, like, oh, well, why didn't you say something? More like if you speak, again, if this person is actually harming people in the way that these allegations are playing out, if Diddy did all of this stuff, then I'm just looking at it like, wow. So that's like, what is it, a 30-something odd year span of a career, if not more time? So how many people could have been saved if one person had have said something earlier? So I was thinking about it from the collective standpoint, but her focus is on the victim trying to pull their life back together. And so again, I just wanted to honor that she was saying that, because it's just like the way that she said it, it was like, okay, I hear you, and so what I would say to that is, and it's not a good response, but in the future, if I'm asking people to come forward, like conceptually, then I need to do a better job of acknowledging upfront as a caveat that society is asking you to be a hero, heroine, right? Is asking you to be a superhero, right? To say something. And that to acknowledge that, and this is just general, it doesn't matter who the alleged predator is, but it's just acknowledging that it's a sacrifice on top of the violation and the trauma. So, that it puts people in a space, like she said, that they don't want to be in. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, because I was like, wow, sorry to hear that she experienced that. I do remember seeing her. I used to watch all those entertainment shows. So now, the second thing that I would like to go through here is, I'll show you the tweet, but I want to hook up the articles related to said tweet. And then also a video. And the subject, folks, is dating and relationships. I feel like I've possibly spoken about that or alluded to it several times. But this, I think, what I was struck by in terms of the social media post, and then also the articles, and there's a video too, is the framing of it. It's also really interesting that a guy posted it. I don't know much about him. I just know he's been a lot in my algorithms a lot, and I agree with a healthy amount of the things that he posts. Let's see. I don't know where the video is. Yeah, sorry. I was trying to be more organized today. So view this. Yeah, sorry. iPad mini. It's working, but it's just slow. And then after, talk through this story a bit, I might want to touch on some immigration. Let's reframe that. Not immigration. The migrant crisis, talking about, a couple of interesting updates / dilemmas that I've seen related to that. This is so weird. It's not loading in a logical way. Like, it's still taking me back, to old tweets from like years ago. This is weird. Oh, okay. Maybe they're doing it out of order on purpose. Oh, let me do this. This shouldn't be that hard. Okay. Well, Let me see if I can find the video somewhere else. Just because it was a really good short video. Or maybe they took it down? I hope not, because sister was spitting. And you know what it was about is talking about different trends in terms of specifically heterosexual dating. You know, I try to really verbally acknowledge all of my friends and family and associates, you know, in the LGBTQ community. But, you know, because I don't like to speak, you know, for folks that if I don't have the right information, you know, so I'll just be focusing on, you know, heterosexual dating and relationships at the moment. And I wish I could figure out the woman's name. I feel like this has been a very uneventful show. I've only done one thing. But like I said, just trying to figure it out. It's going to be slow and steady, toiling in obscurity. And drinking lukewarm tea. And you know what? I don't know what I'm doing the next episode, but I wanted to say that the next episode, we outside. I need to go and touch grass. So we'll go for a walk, maybe somewhere in the neighborhood or something like that. I think that would be a good idea. And then also, too, that I'm aware that a lot of, if not the majority of the content that I've been offering thus far has been very much related to internet culture. And I've mentioned this, want to be more mindful about how often I'm plugging into internet culture and not considering the wider world. So I want to bring that to the fore too. Now, we're limited because, to a certain extent, because of the format here, but that I'm innovative. I'll come up with something. Oh, dang. I'm going to try YouTube, and then I'm going to give up, and we're just going to do the discussion. Because my hope is that we can get it to the point where if people want to respond, because I am curious. I've joked a lot about it being bad out here, but it is bad, and it gets worse. But it shouldn't be like that. There shouldn't be any, gender wars, diaspora wars, just war in general. But let's see. I think part of it is that I don't think we and then I saw my friend use this word on Facebook, which, I mean, it makes sense that it's a word, but I hadn't really heard it. She was talking about heterosocial relationships as opposed to heterosexual relationships. I think a lot of the problems stem from, I don't really know many adults that have extensive networks of heterosocial, friendships. I mean, at this point, men that I'm friends with, they're all people that I knew when I was like 12, but I haven't really acquired, new male friends as I've aged. And I have had a couple of mentors, but I think that's different. But just like, just friends, like people you go to the movies with or you shoot the shit with or whatever. I don't really have male friends like that. I would like to, but I just don't know what that looks like in 2024. But I would love a masculine perspective on a lot of things. Let's see here. What did you just do? Okay, now it's acting funky. Yeah. So what this tells me is it's urgent at this point for me to get the tech stuff together. Because the topic is fascinating, right? Like the question of if you're thinking about heterosexual relationships, and the role of a leader who should lead. I think that that's really an important discussion, and I think there needs to be a lot more transparency around that, right? Because relationships are not happening. Or if they're happening, then it seems like a majority of them are not successful. Now, some people might argue, well, maybe that's how it's supposed to be. But I think decent human beings who desire a long-term relationship of, monogamous or otherwise, they should, if they have these skills, which is what we're going to be talking about, they should be able to obtain that partnership. But I think a lot of folks don't have the skills. And the reason that I bring up the heterosocial element is I think like if we had better foundations in terms of how the different genders communicate, I think that would solve a lot, right? Because we're not looking at work, right? But if I can honestly sit here and say, oh, I only socialize with men when I go out on a date, I don't think that's healthy. But it's how it is, because society. I mean, I don't, there are things that I could do differently, but I don't know what they are right now, I haven't, because of my schedule, and my commute and stuff, I haven't really been leaving the house like that. But when I do leave the house, I try to be open. I talk to whoever. But I just noticed that overall, that men don't really try to talk to you at all unless it's in a dating sense. This is my experience, by the way, just me. The only exception would be if I go somewhere and let's say that there are a lot of married couples, if I am circulating and I see a lot of married couples, sometimes, if the wife is off for a little while, if a dude is just kind of standing there twiddling his thumbs, he'll start a conversation with me. But I think that's just more like social anxiety and just, not wanting to just be standing around somewhere where you don't know anybody. Damn it. We want to show that video. So basically in the video, and I'll post it when I have access to my phone. See, because on my phone it's easy to find. Here, not so much. But Chris Evans posted a video, and it was an interview, and I don't know what the context is, so I'll be fair about that. But the guy, he just says to a woman, he's like, well, would you follow a man? Something to that extent. And then she was just like, well, I wouldn't follow a man like you. And then, she said what she had to say. And the core of it, folks, is that she was just like, following a leader comes from trusting that person's competence and in compassion and ethics and intelligence, right? That person has to have leadership qualities, and that's what she really focused on. And then the thread was really funny because homeboy had on socks and house shoes. Sir, you're talking about, oh, well, what are you going to do? Do you know your place? Do you know how to follow? It's like, you're supposed to follow you where? In house shoes, in Adidas slides, sir. And I mean, they're sitting in what looks like a podcast sort of studio setup. It's very similar to like if you've ever seen Joe Budden, how he has that setup going. It pretty much looks like that, but he had on socks and house shoes, trying to put her on the spot. And so people were really talking about that. But the articles here, so I want to start with the second one that I saw first, and it's called What's Behind the Rise of Lonely Single Men. And so I don't think I'll need to show you the whole thing. I just want to show you the progression of articles and information if you want to go look it up, right? I think it's important for people to have discussions with information. All right. So this is the Chris Evans. You can see Not Captain America. And again, not sure what he does or who he represents. I don't get into that. I'm in the algorithm. I see his tweets. And so I like a lot of his tweets. So more women are choosing to remain single. Why? And so this was the first article from Yahoo. But the second one, right, which was amazing to me. Right? What's behind the rise of lonely single men? And it's saying that guys don't even really have an opportunity to date anymore, because relationship standards are rising. I'm laughing, but that's so sad. It's like, oh, there are too many standards now. I'm not going to find anybody. It's like, what the hell? The standards are low. Dating apps. Okay, so we're going to focus on the last two. So dating apps, I'll talk about that too. But here, relationship standards. With so many options, it's not surprising that women are increasingly selective. I do a live TikTok show and speak with hundreds of audience members every week. I have recurring dating themes from women between the ages of 25 and 45. They prefer men who are emotionally available, who are good communicators, and who share their values. And then this last part here, skills deficits. For men, this means a relationship skills gap that, if not addressed, will likely lead to fewer dating opportunities and longer periods of being single. There's less patience for poor communication skills today. The problem for men is that emotional connection is the lifeblood of healthy, long-term love, and it requires all the skills that families are not consistently teaching young boys. Wow. Let me read that one again. The problem for men is that emotional connection is the lifeblood of healthy long-term love, and it requires all the skills that families still are not consistently teaching young boys, right? So let me... Young boys are not being taught love and compassion? What is going on? I had to read that a couple of times because I just think that's so sad. Goodness. When I think about, so I'm the eldest of three, and then I have a sister and a brother. I mean, there were parts where we were, quote unquote, raised differently, but compassion was at the center of that. So I'm just like, well, what the hell is happening in people's households, right? And let me make this 100% clear. I'm not saying women don't have skills deficits and that women are not problematic. So if you take that away from this, then you're just being deliberately bullheaded. But I don't date women, so it's easier for me to see, right, the pool that I've been in. What was I thinking about? So yeah, it's very foreign to me when people just completely have their empathy switch off. Why are you here? Right? It's just like, we're here to be in relationship with each other, the earth, animals, God, if you believe in God, you are here to be in relationship. Now you choose what that relationship looks like, right? So it could be, you live in the woods by yourself and you don't really talk to anybody. But an element of that relationship is that you're not doing harm, right? If you're just that person who's like, I don't like people, I'm isolated, but you're still in relationship, right? Because you're not harming the collective. So you're still in a positive, right relationship with people. And so lacking compassion is, how can you ever be in right relationship with a woman, let alone like the universe, if you don't have any compassion? I'm just like, I didn't mean to go off on a diatribe about that, but that's just, maybe that's not exactly what he means, but to me, it sounds like he's saying that men are being raised with a switch off emotionally. And if that is the case, that is terrible. And I'm sorry for men that have experienced that, because that's not a way to live. Now I want to address the three categories here. The dating app. Dating apps are trash. I am on one. I'm on Tinder, but it just seems like everyone that's reaching out to me is socially dysfunctional, unemployed, or an alcoholic. And I wasn't happy with those options. So I'm not, dating right now. And the thing is too, is that one thing that I've noticed is a lot of these guys want to rush you off of, Tinder. And they're like, oh, well, can we, exchange numbers? And, I don't want to be on here too long, da, 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 da. And so when I was in my 30s, I would get kind of happy about that because I'm like, oh, he really wants to get to know me better. But then it's like, now that I'm 42, almost 43 in less than 2 weeks here, I'm like, nah, fuck that bullshit. No, let's stay on the goddamn app for at least 2 weeks, because here's what I've noticed. The ones who are trying to rush you off and they're like, oh, can I get your number or whatever? And then you give them the number, and then the first day it's cute, like, oh, what are you eating? Or, good morning, I thought about you, or whatever. Like, they do like manipulative stuff. And then they start either breadcrumbing or ghosting. So it's just like, well, stop playing on my phone and stop playing in my face. Like, I don't want to just give you my number so you can feel like, oh, this is going to advance to something, I don't know what you think, sexual or whatever. Like, nope. But you're thinking, oh, like, if I can get her off the app, then, oh, okay, then this is, she's serious. She's not playing games. But then as a woman, it's actually, in my opinion, you have more power and direction in the app. You see what I mean? So that's what I've noticed. And I've also noticed too, there are a couple of guys where they'll want you to be on WhatsApp instead of texting you. And I'm like, well, why is that? So then I looked that up, and that's a whole scam too, because like a lot of people, if you're married, they're using WhatsApp and then, deleting the messages or something, or basically just keeping it separate. So that way, if their spouse picks up their phone and looks at their text messages, you're not in there, you're in WhatsApp. I'm like, no. And I had that experience with 3 different people trying to rush me off onto WhatsApp. And then I told the one guy, I said, you're probably married. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not married. What do you mean? And then I was just like, well, why WhatsApp? And then he had these really weird, he was making really weird, inappropriate jokes. And I asked him, because when I was initially seeing him, I thought that he was Puerto Rican, and I don't know, he wasn't. But he was something that I was just like, oh, okay. I said, oh, cool. I didn't expect that. And then he was like, haha, you're a racist. And I was just like, what? So this is just convoluted, but the dating apps are a problem, y'all, because again, I'm just going to focus on who I've dated or who I've spoken to. A lot of these guys don't have basic social skills. It's just like, I'm like, oh, he's got, a curly graying ponytail. He's olive/brown complected. Like, I'm just not sure. I just want to ask. I mean, my preference is for black men. But, again, on the app, like, who's approaching me, I have to be realistic. So I was just kind of like, oh, I just want to know, like, proximity, if you will, right? So there's like a scale. So it's like, over here are the black people, right? No, let me be even, I'm gonna keep 100% with y'all. Here are the Black American, former Negro, former freedmen, like, because the language on that is evolving. I might do a separate show on that. I feel like I say that a lot. There's a lot going on. So here they are, right? Us, that, descendant of the people that toiled on this land, majority, came up from the South, so on and so forth, right? So for me, that would be ideal, because I'm just at a point in my life where I need somebody on my wavelength. I've spent so much time I've spent so much time. I think the majority of my life, right? Because I went to boarding school when I was 14 years old. So I've always been in environments where the environment itself is just not on my frequency at all. And like, I've always had to be the one to go into mask mode and hide. And then, or try to over explain myself to people. Oh, you do that? That's so weird. Or, you know, and it's just like, I'm over that shit. Like, I don't want to have to, it's one thing, you want to be able to communicate your emotions and your intentions and your actions. That is a relationship, right? That's compromise. That's what you do. But I'm not explaining who I am. You should be able to, you know, again, observe that just from interacting. And so that's why it's like, okay, you know, here, me, Black American, all American, you know, and then this would be ideal, because then it'd be like, okay, we can work on relationship stuff, but I don't necessarily have to say, oh, you're from where? I don't know what those people speak, what they do, what they believe, you know? So I think it, you know, in my mind, at least, it puts you a little bit ahead of the curve. But, you know, I have to be realistic. A lot of what I'm looking for is not on Tinder. And so I just felt that when the guy was like, oh, haha, you're racist. And then I just wrote, wait, what? I said, I just wanted to learn more about you. And then he said, oh, I have an off-putting sense of humor. You'll get used to it. I'm going to get used to you calling me a racist? And you met me, like, not even in person, online for like, because I think that was somebody who I got a notification that we matched at work. So I don't check it at work. And then by the time I saw it later that evening, and then we had exchanged a message. So basically by 8:30 p.m., I was like, oh, this man is disturbing. And then I had to block him, you know, like the next day because of the way he was talking. I mean, I have those messages too. I didn't, you know, put somebody's identity out there ever, but just the way he was phrasing stuff, it seems like he was low-key a candidate for a domestic abuser. Like, he was really that aggressive with me on text messages. So dating apps, yeah, are not the place. And then I did give a half-assed attempt to match with somebody last month. Older guy, so he was age appropriate, dreadlocks, really nice smile, and, you know, really respectful, but we only exchanged 2 or 3 messages. And when I asked him if we could stay on the app, he unmatched me. So I'm just kind of like, I'm not going to chase you. That is not my role. And that was what, you know, I think the woman was saying in the video. You know, if I am an articulate and forthright woman, if I'm a woman who believes in boundaries, if I'm a woman who wants a level of respect, that's seen as ungovernable, right? That's, oh, she doesn't know how to follow. She doesn't accept a man's leadership. No, I'll happily accept leadership. You know how tired I am of doing all this shit by myself? I would happily accept the leadership. Please just be competent, sir, at life. That's all. That's all I want you to do. But it's a struggle, you know? Gosh. And then the second thing here is relationship standards. And then that's a problem. Okay, so emotionally available, good communicators, So it was only, during the pandemic that I became acquainted with the phrase love bombing. And so that's when, you know, someone meets you, they lock in on you, and then they're just like all over the place with the affection, and you feel like, oh my gosh, this is like this whirlwind romance. And then it's either to manipulate you to do something, or, you know, then it goes away suddenly or whatever. And it's just like, I had 2 really weird experiences like that, and they were like back to back. And so I haven't dated since 2021. That's how bad it was, because the first guy was like, we had so much in common in terms of, being artists in different fields and stuff like that. So I felt like I could talk to him. We enjoyed watching, the same types of TV shows or movies. You know, he took me on a midnight motorcycle ride. Like, I was just like, oh my God, and so I was just thinking like, oh my gosh, like, I don't want to be too hopeful, but I'm still getting hopeful. And then he ghosted. And I'm like, okay. And then I want to say, what was it, 6 to 9 months later, I met someone who seemed, less arrogant, more sweet. But he had been married for like 18 years. And then his wife was cheating on him and married the guy. And so when I met him, he had been divorced for barely like 14 months, and she had already been remarried for like 4 or 5 months. So she was like, let's get it done. And then, but after getting to know him for a few months, I could see why she did that shit, listen, if you're monogamous, I don't agree with cheating. I mean, I believe in, loyalty and just being authentic with somebody. Like, it's just like, oh, it's not working. Let's go. Peace out. But he was a mess. He had 4 kids, which I didn't even have an issue with that. I was like, okay, you have 4 kids. That's fine. But it's just like, if you have 4 kids, you just got divorced, and you're telling a woman you want to date and be in a serious moving toward marriage relationship. This is how this man presented himself to me. He said, listen, I enjoyed being married. I want to be remarried, and that's what I'm working toward. And so it was around my birthday, and I was going through another stint of like, oh, I'm just going to delete all this dating apps. Like, that happens, I want to say, once a year. But so, we went on a date, and I'm like, oh, he's just sweet and super respectful. Like, but then after we went on, okay, so we were talking on the phone pretty intensely for 2 to 3 weeks, like late into the night. And then we went on our first date. It was so cute. He took me to this little amusement park, and I forced him to go on a roller coaster. And he was like, he said, I'm never doing this with you again. And I said, okay, yeah, it was a really bad idea. But, I used to love roller coasters as a kid. But yeah, when you go on a roller coaster and you're over 40, that's a different experience. Anyway, so, and the reason I'm laughing and smiling, because like I was just like, oh, this is great. Maybe we can get married. Maybe it's not too late. I could have a kid or something like that. And then he started getting drunk and calling me. And now we lived far apart. So we lived like 4.5 hours apart, within the state. And he would get into these tirades, and he would be like yelling and crying. And so the first time it happened, I was like, whoa, wait, what is going on? And then I'd have to think a little bit. I mean, I'd have to look at the text and the notes, but I was really upset and disturbed. And, he called me back. And it was, after 1 o'clock in the morning, but I ended up picking up the phone because he called me like 13 times in a row. It was just, I said, okay, this is not. So he called me, he apologized, and then we kind of reset. And it would just be like, I wasn't really, I was responding to him, but I wasn't initiating contact. And then it just seemed like in the few short months that I knew him, from the first month or first 6 weeks, great. And then things escalated. So I only really dated him for 2 or 3 months because things escalated to the point where like every week he was either demeaning me or yelling at me. And it's like, I can't, no. And then also too, it was all happening on text and on the phone, right? Because we went on 2 or 3 physical dates, but he refused to get a full-time job for whatever reason. I don't know if it was for a child support thing or whatever, but I mean, the little kids that he had lived with him though, so I don't even know. But he refused to get a full-time job, and his car broke down. So he wasn't even really mobile like that. And I'm like, sir, what are you doing with your life? This is not, I mean, even outside of me. And I told him this, I said, outside of me, you need to get this together. And I suggested one time that the second time I think that he yelled at me, I suggested that he get into therapy. And he was like, well, why do I need a therapist? I have you. And I was like, whoa. But I was at the time feeling a little desperate, and it was just kind of like, again, we dated, let's see, yeah, because I'm thinking, because we started talking in April, and then we dated just the few times in person, at least, May, June, July. So yeah, maybe it was approaching 3 months, but it just that first time that he yelled at me, I should have been like, nope, and blocked him. But he's blocked on everything now, because he's very toxic. So I could understand. I don't see how. And I mean, the sad thing is that in his instance, I think the only reason that his wife was tolerating him is because he was light skinned. Because he used to make jokes about that. He would be like, oh yeah, if you get with me, you have a light-skinned baby, da 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 da. And I just made it clear. I said, that's not a flex. I enjoy my complexion. So if my child comes, if they could come out any complexion, but I'm not a colorist. Like, I wasn't looking at him like, ooh, he's light-skinned, this is awesome. It was more about how he approached me. The way he approached me was refreshing, but it was a lie. So, yeah. But my relationship standards were, what you're not going to do is yell and scream at me and berate me. And I think that that's a pretty low bar of a standard, and he couldn't meet it. So I'm single. Now here, skills deficits, right? Talking about poor communication skills, right? So I think this relates to him, but the other guy as well, because the other guy would send me text messages like, I hate that I like you so much. Sir, we grown. Right? Like, this isn't middle school. This isn't like, I'm going to push you when I like you. And he was giving that kind of energy. He just wasn't emotionally mature. And I asked him about therapy as well. Now, he told me he went to therapy. I think he was somebody who manipulated therapy. There are people who go to therapy and they learn the language and they use it and they weaponize it against the world. Because, yeah, he would talk to me about, yoga and, his inner healing journey and, working on recovering from alcoholism, blah, 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 right? And so I'm thinking that, like, oh, he's sharing like a deep part of himself with me, and he fucking ghosted me. So that's why I was just like, okay, there's something about me where I'm not attracting the energy that I would like. So we're just on hiatus, right? But the fact that, oh, okay, now this is becoming a problem for men, I would say a lot of guys, you need to do something different, right? Or just, like, what do you want these relationships for? I'm at the point now where I feel like I rarely meet a man that sees a person when he's looking at me. It's just like, I wish I had a better way to express it. You can tell if when you shake hands with someone or when you're facing them or something, you can see if they're present with you, if they're seeing you, or if they're looking past you. You know what I mean? And I feel that energy. And so to me, what that says is we're at a point, maybe it was always like this. We're at a point where maybe a lot of men just see women as a long-term sexual partner. Like they're not necessarily caring or interested in your thoughts or your personality or anything like that. I'm being callous, right? I'm sure that that's not completely true, but it oftentimes feels like it. And I just think it's so, that's why I'm exasperated. I think it's really unfortunate. Now, this second article, and then for the immigration stuff, I'll come back for that. I've been on here too long because I was on a struggle bus with the technology. So this article, let me show you quickly. Single and not looking to mingle, why these women are choosing to live solo for good. Okay. So these are women who are permanently single. They're like, nah, I'm not trying to hear that, see? I'm just going to look over the reasons and then we'll wrap up. So choosing to be single gives me a sense of purpose and direction in my life. I don't have to report to anybody. I love the lack of drama. I finally realized I'm the greatest love of my life, right? So I definitely resonate with I love the lack of drama. You know what I mean? I have worked and continue to work extremely hard on stabilizing my internal landscape. And that one relationship that I had in my entire life completely destabilized my internal landscape. And that's a no-no. I've come too far for that shit. And that's why it's just, I'm very, very gun shy, right? With dating and relationships, right? Because, and I think somebody said this on the internet, right? So I'm not going to try to act like I'm being profound. One wrong person will fuck your whole shit up, right? Like that's not what we're doing over here. And so yeah, dating scene is rough right now. What should men do? I mean, definitely therapy, if you need it, or just like. And when I say therapy, I don't mean that it has to be a psychiatrist or a doctor per se. But I think if you find a counselor or a mentor who is wise, right? Because I think, like for me, when I'm looking for mentorship or when I'm looking for advice, I'm looking for someone who's wise but firm. Someone who is open and empathetic to what I'm saying, but who can also hold me in a space of, yeah, Deanne, you shouldn't have did that. Or just like, no. And so when people present to me like that, I can, say, okay, I have to look at myself a little more honestly. So I think men, they need more of those people in their lives, right? Like, here's one thing I'm curious about. So if your friend, if you feel like, oh, this is not the so-and-so that I know, he's kind of living foul right now, like, can I talk to him about it? Do men do that? I mean, I've seen women do that, oh, girl, you just run around here yelling at everybody. You need to get it together. Or, or just, oh, you need to stop dating married men. Or just, like, women, we take this, we can, and we often do. I'm sure you've seen reality television where our friendships among women can become toxic because we deconstruct each other. But from what I've seen from men regarding homosocial relationships is that I'd have to, I'm, like I said, I'm not trying to present a false narrative. I'd have to think really hard the last time I saw a guy check another guy. Like, he'll be saying or doing something, and then you see his friend kind of look out of the corner of his eyes and then look away. And it's just like, whereas, and women do that too, but I feel like women will be like, no. Or find a way to redirect the person. Whereas guys, I would say, especially when it comes to misogyny, I really don't see men checking it in real time. And I'm bringing it up because for me, that's important. When I'm the type of woman, like when I'm trying to do research on a guy and find out who he is, I want to know how you feel about women generally, not just how you feel about me. You tell me something nice about me, but if you have a jacked up relationship with your mother and you're like, oh, she mistreated me, and so now I'm going to weaponize that to mistreat these women because I'm working out, right, some complex narrative that I had with my mom. You need to get over that shit before you get on the dating market. Or it's like, oh, your last girlfriend, manipulated you, told you the baby was yours, it wasn't, or whatever. Like I said, women are not angels, right? So there is stuff going on, but the men that I've met, in my adult life, in terms of dating, are just be like, oh, okay, whatever. They think they've moved on. It's like, let me think. I actually, and he's married now. He's a cool dude. I went on a date with this guy that was a political prisoner for a while. And he told me about some of the stuff that they did to him when he was in prison. And I was just like, well, goodness. I'm like, well, how do you heal yourself from that? I forgot what he told me. But he and I think we went on one date that was really good. He took me to his studio and showed me his work. Nothing happened. Okay, because I just realized, oh, he took me to his studio. No, nothing happened. We went for Chinese food or something. Went to his studio, we talked, and then we continued to talk on the phone extensively for a while. And then, so we went on that first date, and then I didn't hear from him for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then I heard from him out of the blue, I want to say like 4 or 5 years later. It was a long time later. And he was telling me like, oh yeah, I couldn't have given you what you were looking for at the time. And I felt bad about it. So I walked away. And I appreciated his honesty. If he had just said that at the time, I would have been like, wow, thank you so much just for being honest. And I wish you the best of everything. He's doing so much better now. We're friends on Facebook and everything. So it doesn't have to be, there doesn't have to be animus. Like, I do have respect for him and stuff like that. But I think that was something that could have had potential if he had have communicated how he was feeling earlier, because his mind, I enjoyed his mind. I enjoyed talking to him about stuff. But, it is what it is. I just thought that was interesting that video and those articles came together today at like 4:15 in the morning, and I was able to chat with you about it. But yeah, I would suggest men just having someone in your life, if they're not a clinician, then someone who is wise, that they listen to you carefully, but then they also, they hold you with, when you're like, oh, I'm over here, it's all her fault, and I didn't do anything, and they hold you like, is that really the case? You can always take some moments to look at yourself, and I don't know what it is about the zeitgeist of masculinity. And I'm using that term very specifically because I'm not saying it is the natural outcome of what it means to be a man in the United States of America in 2024. But what I'm saying is the zeitgeist of masculinity, the way it looks from the outside, it's like all of you have agreed that it's the women that are the problem and we don't need to do shit. That's what it feels like. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right, it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. But I think, the men that are just really more open to looking within, I think that that's a massive step. But then also another thing that I noticed is it's just, don't underestimate how much small things show a woman that you're paying attention or making at least a slight investment. It's very telling when you're saying, oh, we should go out on a date, but you never have a suggestion of what we could do. So it just doesn't feel like you actually want to hang out, right? Which is at the beginning what I want to do, right? I know what you want to do, but I want to hang out so I can be, I can feel confident that yes, I want to do what he wants to do as well. But it's like, I don't know you right now. Either therapy or someone that you can really talk to and just like really talk to and not be afraid, oh, this person's gonna tell everybody everything or whatever. Somebody who's really down for you that you trust. And then also acknowledging and actually enjoying a woman's personhood. Now, here's the thing. If you don't like her personality, then you just don't like her. I think what I'm seeing is a lot of people who are pursuing the women who do the Instagram girl thing, right? With the wigs and the different looks or whatever. And so the focus is, oh, she's giving me a Kim K vibe. I want to go for that. But what is her personality like? See her personhood. Yes, you're extremely attracted to her, but then on the back end, right? So if you have a kid with her, then now you're going to be bitching about paying child support for 18 years because your baby mama is a psychopath. Well, she's always been a psychopath, sir. She was just a psychopath that looked like Kim Kardashian, and you overlooked the fact that she was a psychopath. You know what I think we need to see? I think if we saw a video like the Risa Tisa, Who the Fuck Did I Marry, but from a guy, I think that would bring up some interesting dialogue here on the internet streets. All right. So that is what I have for you today. Thank you for anybody that might check out the replay. This is The Composite. I am Deanne Battle, and have a good rest of your day.